If you're currently renting your place, like a third of American households are, or 65% if you're under 35, then this is a card you'll want to pay attention to, because there's no other card that really exists right now that will let you earn points on your rent without paying any transaction fees. So in this video, we'll go over everything about the card, from earning points to maximizing the value of those points to travel protections and partner benefits. There are several drawbacks of the card, so make sure you watch till the end to understand them all. So right off the bat, this card has a pretty simple structure on how you earn points when spending with the card, with 3 times points on dining, 2 times on travel, which includes your air travel, hotels, and car rentals, and then 1 times back on everything else, including your rent payments. Though one caveat, which in my opinion is a small drawback, is that you won't be earning any points with the card unless you're using the card at least 5 times every statement period, which is probably a way to keep the card top of mind so you'd use it more often instead of just using it for rent and then throwing it in the drawer. So either you keep this card with you and remember to use it several times a month, or put a few automatic payments on there to make sure you're hitting those 5 transactions every statement period. Because forgetting to hit that minimum and not earning points for that month, especially on rent, can be a major miss. Because of course travel and dining aren't unique categories to this card, but rent is, especially with no transaction fees. For example, in my area, rent is about $2,000 a month, and right now I use ACH transfers, so there are no fees attached to that. Whereas paying with a typical credit card would cost me 2.2% of the total payment amount, meaning $44 every month, which outweighs any types of points I'd earn from that payment. Instead, with the Bilt Mastercard, I would be earning 2,000 points every month, or 24,000 points a year, without having to pay the $44 in transaction fees every month on this no annual fee credit card. Things are a little bit easier if your apartment is part of the Bilt Alliance, like getting perks during lease signing or renewals, but no matter how you pay your rent, Bilt has you covered, even if it means Bilt sending them a physical check for you. There are a couple limitations though, where you're limited to 1 rental property payment every month, as well as a cap of 100,000 points every year, which is up from the 50,000 point cap not too long ago. But even to reach the 100,000 point cap, you need to be spending upwards of $8,000 per month on your rent, which I don't think most people are, even if you're living in a city like New York City, where 1 bedrooms can go for $4,000 to $5,000 a month. And if for some reason your rent payment is under $250 a month, A, where do you live? Because that rent is almost unheard of, and B, you're still gonna get 250 points because that's the minimum. Now with rent being thousands of dollars nowadays and putting that on a credit card, how is that gonna affect your credit score? Because say you have $10,000 of credit line and your rent is already a few $1,000s every month. That can really affect your credit score, given your credit utilization is going to be sky high. Ideally, you'd want to keep that utilization under 30%, or even better, under 10%, or as close to 0 as possible without actually being 0, especially because credit utilization makes up 30% of your credit score. Well, Bilt has a solution for this with Bilt Protect, meaning when you turn it on, and you have to manually turn it on, which I'd recommend, it'll facilitate charging your card for the rent payment, as well as automatically pulling those funds from your linked bank account, meaning that the charge hits and then gets paid off immediately. So when it reports to the credit bureaus, your credit utilization is still going to be really low, all while still earning you points for that rent payment, of course, as long as you make those minimum 5 charges to the card every period. Now that's already some pretty decent multiples on your spend, but the point earning does not end there, because on the first of every month, which they call rent day, you'll be earning double points, with 6 times on dining, 4 times on travel, and 2 times on everything else except for rent, unfortunately. Which means if you're gonna need to put 5 charges on the card anyways, you may as well lump them all on this day to get maximum value. Maybe book a trip, reserve a fancy meal, or go on your coffee run on this day. Because with this earning, even at 1 cent per point, you're getting 6%, 4%, and 2% back in value, which is higher than most other cards. Or if you value these points at 1.8 cents per per point, which the points guy values them at, that's 10.8%, 7.2%, and 3.6% back in value, which can be had through some redemptions we'll cover later in this video. But such amazing earnings do come with a small caveat, being that this bonus from rent day will cap out at 10,000 points every month, which is still quite a lot, because say you're booking a trip and paying $5,000, having 2 times points will earn you 10,000 points, with another 10,000 points on top of that from rent day, which will max out for the month. You're probably not booking a $5,000 trip every month anyways. So with so many great things about this card, there's gotta be a catch, right? Well, sort of. For most people, a bulk of the value of credit cards comes from the initial welcome bonus. But the Bilt Mastercard has a welcome bonus of exactly $0, which can be more significant than you might think. Say you were paying rent, again $2,000 a month, over 2 months, so that's $4,000, netting you 4,000 points, which at a 1 cent per point value is $40. If you instead got a card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred and spent $4,000 to hit that welcome bonus, you'll get 60,000 points, which at minimum is valued at $600. Even if we take away the $88 in fees for the 2 months of rental payments, you're still left with over $500 in positive value compared to $40 on the Bilt. That means you'd have to pay over a year's worth of rent on the Bilt Mastercard to match the welcome bonus of the Chase Sapphire Preferred. But that's not to say that the Bilt Mastercard is a bad card, but a comparison to show how valuable welcome bonuses can be. Because these welcome bonuses are limited. There's only that many cards you can get, both in terms of the number of good cards out there and the number of hard pulls you get from getting too many of them. Meaning, yes, you might get small bursts of points here and there on the welcome bonuses, but it won't compare to the Bilt Mastercard that will give you a consistent stream of points and reoccurring value month to month. At least until maybe they decide to change up the structure on the card in the future. The one thing I would consider is where you are on your credit card journey, and if there are some elevated offers out there on cards that you may want to get first. That said, this card is still amazing and will earn you a ton of points if you rent for absolutely no extra cost or fees. With the average rent in the US being about $1,700, that's about 20,000 points every year on top of your regular purchases or your bonuses from rent day. But how much are these points worth and how do you redeem them? Well, there are several options. One, you can use these points to cover future rent payments. You'd think that because this card is so focused on rent, that it would be a good option for you to apply those points towards more rent. But for some reason, no. I think the values vary from property to property, but most of them seem to hover around 0.55 cents per point, which is really low. Then there are a few other options like redeeming for Amazon purchases at 0.7 cents per point, items through the Bilt collection usually lower than 1 cent per point, or redeeming fitness classes like SoulCycle and Solid Core with values hovering around 1 cent per point, which aren't horrible but also aren't the best. Now comes the few options that will give you the most value for your points. First, you can save up all your points and apply them to a future down payment on a home, which would value your points at 1.5 cents per point. With homes being so expensive nowadays, it probably won't make a significant dent, but it's at least something where having 100,000 points could give you $1,500 towards that down payment. But a more reasonable and attainable use of your points would be to redeem them through the Bilt travel portal powered by Expedia. Similar to the Chase travel portal, you can book flights, hotels, car rentals, and activities and have a small boost to your points, valuing them at 1.25 cents per point. Although for some reason I am seeing slightly different prices across the Chase portal, Bilt portal, and Google Flights, so do your own comparison before actually booking. And then third, the way you can get the most value from your points is transferring them out to one of Bilt's travel partners. For example, out of all the hotel chains, World of Hyatt is probably the one that gives you the best value and availability, with some hotels in New York giving you 2 to 4 cents per point in value. Or American Airlines, which doesn't really have other partners other than Bilt, which makes it a major highlight for the card, especially given its pretty good award charts with flights in first class from the Americas to Asia as low as 80 or 110,000 points like on Cathay Pacific, or 70,000 points to the Middle East like on Qatar Q Suites. There are a lot of ways you can maximize value for your points, but it takes a lot of learning, flexibility, and patience to find the award space that works for you. Which is why Bilt partnered up and gives you access to services like Points.me, which can make it easier to search for these kinds of redemptions, a service that would regularly cost you $129 a year. But speaking of travel, not only are you earning 2 times points on travel purchases, but you'll also be covered for things that happen before or during your trip. If you, your partner, or your children need to cancel the trip or interrupt it based on some issues like physical illness or medical advice, trip cancellation and interruption insurance will kick in for up to $5,000 per passenger, even if you're not traveling with them. And that also extends to trip delay reimbursement for delays of more than 6 hours, covering $200 per day per traveler up to 3 days, or up to $1,800 in total. Just make sure the reasons for the delay is in the list that's covered. If you don't have a car or you travel a lot and do a lot of car rentals, then you'll benefit from the primary rental CDW, which can save you anywhere from $20 to $30 a day, given you can decline the coverage when you rent from the company. As well as cell phone protection, which isn't really a travel perk, but does come in handy, covering you for up to $800 per claim after a $25 deductible. Again, all of this on a no annual fee card. Honestly, the Bilt Mastercard overall just seems like a really well polished card. From earning points without fees on a rare category like rent, to great redemptions, partners, and tools to help you maximize your points. It's no surprise that Brian Kelly, the founder of The Points Guy, is an advisor and investor in the company. Now, all those travel perks and redemptions are amazing, but if you move past those experiences, you'll see that the card still has a lot going for it. For example, if you do rideshare a lot, especially on Lyft, after 3 rides, you'll get $5 in credit. And that's in addition to the up to 5 times points you'd get when you're using your card on Lyft purchases, or getting 3 months of complimentary DoorDash with $5 off the first order every month. Bilt even partnered up with Hyatt not too long ago to offer trial and fast-track paths towards Hyatt Elite status, so keep an eye out for any future promotions like that. Now, all your spending on the card will also contribute towards your progress through the Bilt reward tiers, going through blue, silver, gold, and platinum tiers. Right now, there's not too much to be excited about, but I'd imagine they'll look to adjust or add to the different tiers over time. Because right now, the main bonus perks include lease incentives from participating locations, a home ownership concierge if you plan on getting your own home, an exclusive gift, as well as interest earned on your points, which won't be anything too drastic, but it's a nice little sprinkle on top. But speaking of home ownership, one major drawback that basically eliminates 2/3 of households is that people who own the home instead of rent won't get any benefits, given you can't use this card to earn points on mortgage payments. At least for now, given that in their FAQ, they do mention it being something they're considering for the future. It's also worth noting that the issuer behind the Bilt Mastercard is Wells Fargo, which did have an issue a few months back where people were getting hit with unauthorized charges from fraudsters trying to guess random number combinations to find working cards. Although like almost all credit cards, the users are not responsible for these fraudulent charges. With that said, if you rent, I still think this card should be near the top of your list of cards that you should consider. Although you do want to look at the opportunity costs of other cards that may have higher elevated offers. But if you rent and you love to travel, then this card will make sure you're getting a ton of points on a category that traditionally will give you 0 points, and give you the opportunity to get great value from those points through the Bilt travel portal or their amazing travel partners. It's also a great addition to your wallet to supplement the points from other ecosystems like Chase, American Express, or Capital One, and so go on and check out this video for the best credit card strategy for maximum value towards travel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.